I teach 5th grade math, like she said, at Caverna. I started with self-pacing last year. We were ability group last year in math, so it was easier to do self-paced with the high group, and I had a traditional classroom with the low. This year, they wanted us to keep them all together. They did not want us to ability group them, so we are all together now. I started with self-pacing, did not work. Big disaster. Some kids are not self-motivated. Some kids, I found out that you had to hold their hand almost to get them to work. So to send them independently to do a task, no matter how much motivation you set for them, they're still going to be off task. So I found that blended classroom works better for that kind of setting. So what is it? These are my kids. I kind of cut some of them off. This is the small group that's with me, and we'll talk more about this in a minute. These are kids doing a FAL, a formative assessment lesson, which was recommended by the state for us to do. And these are kids that are self-pacing and note-taking. So I've got 3 rotations going on. It's almost like a task rotation. However, the Google Classroom that you see them doing moves them ahead. So one of my group technically is truly almost self-pacing. They're already in other units that are beyond what the other class or the majority of us are going. Most of the small groups stay with me pretty much 30 minutes at the time, the other 30 minutes, the other classes in there. So,
and I will tell you that the scores at this school, one of the reasons they began to soar was they stopped trying to only, you know how you get, oh, these kids don't have it, and you spend so much time with these kids that don't have it, that growth did not come, especially for the high level kids. And even though it's a school that has traditionally had some struggles, there are bright, wonderful, articulate kids that at some point, especially with that ability grouping, it was like they knew where they were and they weren't sure they knew how to get out of it. And this has been, I've seen this particular 5th grade group from 4th to 5th, the growth in just their confidence has been tremendous.
Yes, and that's the beautiful thing about blended classroom. My higher kids can go way beyond, because I've got a lot of them working on 6th grade extensions. A lot of them, hopefully by the end of the year, won't have to even do 6th grade math. They can move on to the next math class. So, and I've got some that are way below level. So I can work with them small group, pull them, work on their skills, or put them on a separate Google Classroom assignment. And I'll talk about that too. My class in a day starts like this. We do a 10-minute whole group higher level thinking activity with concrete manipulatives. So I get all the manipulatives out, and they're usually pre-packaged. I've got it ready the day before, so it doesn't take long to do. We do a task, they show me what they know, and then we do an entrance slip. The entrance slip determines who goes small group first, because it's just a quick check. It's like, all right, your small group, your small group, your small group, your small group. All right, you can go, and then my self-pacing group goes straight to the computers. Like, they know what they're working on. They're beyond the 5th grade level at this point, so they can go on there. I'll pull 20 minutes, small group with me, 20 minutes self-pacing Google Classroom. That's usually everyone, unless I have a FAL or a different task assigned to them. And then we rotate this, it flip-flops, so, and I'll show you that in the next slide, in a 5-minute exit slip. The exit slip usually determines who is small group the next step, or the next period, and I'll show you a little more about that. Group 1 is determined by this entrance slip that takes about 5 minutes. Their small group with me, 20 minutes, sometimes 30, it depends on what the skill is. And then they self-pace the second half. So they're only actually in small group with me for 20 minutes. So that gives me enough time to where they don't get like, oh, this is so boring, I'm tired of being taught by you. Then they get to go work on the skill, on whatever standard we're on. Group 2 is determined by the exit slip at the end of the day. I pull them for some small group activity, and during the first few minutes, they were self-paced during the first 20 while I'm working with this group. So they move along in 3 different groups. This works good for me because this group right here is usually the ones that need the most intense interventions. Like, I can clear up those misconceptions really quick, small group with them. And I use a lot of concrete manipulatives, and I'll talk about that too. Group 3 usually does not meet with me unless there is a misconception or a new skill. So they're the advanced group that like moves straight on into the next level of content. I meet with them maybe to clear up misconceptions, to teach them new content, but that's usually the only time. They're very efficient at and self-motivated to get on the computer and do all of the assignments that I have up for them, even at the next level. Like they want to know, I have all the instructional videos on Google Classroom for them. Here you see two self-pacing. They've chose to work together. I make sure too, if they're choosing to work together, they are on the same level. I heard someone else say that today. These two are working at the same pace. These are Google Classroom videos. Now, I do not have a printout that I have where you check off what you're doing. I have Google Classroom assignments. And what I do is under that Google Classroom assignment, I have all my videos, all my activities, everything linked on that one assignment. So when they pull it off there and watch it, I know they've done that, I know they've done this, I know they've done this, I know they've done the activity because they've turned it in. And then they also do front row, which gives me a report on how their practice is going. So it's almost paperless, with the exception of note-taking. And we've talked about note-taking. Something I'm going to implement soon is where they take pictures of their notes and they upload it to the comments section of Google Classroom so I can see their note-taking and I can see their assessments. So that will kind of make my life completely paperless, but them still having where they can write. And I have some of the note-taking sheets. They require note-taking and reflection. Higher level task, interactive practice. I have a lot of different things that are in there. Pacing, I have weekly deadlines to ensure that the kids move along at a timely pace so that we aren't on the same standard all year with certain kids. Students may move though as quickly as they like through the rigorous content as long as they are passing the assessments. If for some reason entrance slips, exit slips help me determine that daily. So I pretty much know when they take the formative assessment or the standard-based assessment at the end of the standard, whether or not they have mastered the content before they ever take that. If for some reason they weren't, I push them back. So are there any questions?
I know that one thing that we have talked about is right now she is pretty much setting the deadlines, but she has some kids now that are going to be able to set their own deadlines.
Right. And
questions though, because that wasn't a question, it was a comment.
All right. Student collaboration. I am in small group 40 minutes of the self-paced time. So it is almost impossible if a student on a computer has a misconception for them to come up, interrupt small group for me to work with them. So I have kids, they have a help board and they write their names on it. I have trained peer tutors. And when I say trained, they are trained not to give answers. Because what I found out last year is if you have peer tutors, the first thing they're going to do is, that's not right, this is what I got. This is what I did. So they are trained to more or less coach like I do and say, how did you get that? Does that make sense? Like I've given them questions and they've been trained to do that. I have several of these. They're usually my advanced students. Sometimes they can be other students, but they have to be trained. And that's why I put that in big letters. Because otherwise, kids giving answers, I always tell them, you're not helping them, you're hurting them. Because they have no idea how you got that answer if you don't show them. So, that's when I'm not available because of small group. Now, sometimes, and you could do this as a classroom teacher, one of those sessions of 20 minutes, if I don't meet with anyone, I can pull some of those kids during that time. But it's just kind of a day-to-day thing. This is how we do it. Student voice, they may choose on Google Classroom any of the tasks they want to do in any order. The videos, they usually do them in order because of the note-taking sheet. However, all the interactive activities, practice, Google Classroom practice, all of that, they can do that in any order they want. So they have choice in what they do. In the advanced class, or the advanced kids do too. Google Classroom, this is standard-based instruction. I don't do mine by unit, I do mine by standard. I deconstruct the standard, I match it up to the videos, I match it up to these already practices down here. I'll also match it up to all the front row activities they do. so that I can see that they're meeting all the skills of that. Higher level thinking task, I have some of those, and I'll show you those in a minute. And this is what a typical Google Classroom looks like though. I've got this many students, here's who has finished these assignments, so I know who's finished and who's moving on, and I can tell on their note-taking sheet about that, and that's the next part. Note-taking and reflection. It has changed since this. So students note-take on every video, and this is what it looks like now. It's got videos, it's got notes. It used to have reflection at the very end of all the videos. Now I require reflection on each video. That way, if I do pull them, I can see, okay, what did you learn and what questions do you still have? So that I know immediately what any misconceptions are and can clear those up. They have it on every single video. They have note-taking. And then this is the front row I was talking about. It has advanced. It also has these skills. They're listed by standards. So when you click fraction, it will list your standards. So whatever standard they're working on, they will click it. They will do the practice. One of the most awesome things about this is if you click this button right here, all these manipulatives will pop up. And those are all interactive manipulatives that they can put, like if it's a number line, it'll pop out a number line, and they can use their draw tool to use that. If it's blocks, base 10 blocks, anything that you want them to have, they have that. It also has a video. So if they don't understand how to do it, a video will pop up that walks them through that problem with a teacher. And then if that doesn't help, at the bottom it shows the students who mastered that standard. So they can go anywhere in the classroom to those students and pick them. This is free, by the way. The full version isn't free, but I still use the free version and it works well. I like it because it's got the digital manipulatives.
I have a question because I can't remember why you decided to change the reflection sheet.
Because they don't always watch all the videos in one day, and so it's hard for them to come back and reflect on those first videos if they watched them in 2 different days. So I prefer them to note take on each video, well, what you learned and then why, or what you still have misconceptions on. This is my spiral. My spiral came from Teachers Pay Teachers. There's this wonderful lady on Teachers Pay Teachers that has awesome stuff for 5th grade. This is standard base. They have 7 problems, and this is the MBT, numbers and base 10 standard, and they have 7 problems a night on each standard as their spiral review. Now, when we finish the fractions unit, it will alternate. One night will be MBT, one night will be NF, or your fractions, so that I get that spiral review. That's a quick check in the morning. Usually I don't take it up until Friday because this is all week. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they get it at the beginning of the week, and that's their homework all week. As she said, we are 100% free and reduced lunch. The majority of our kids do not have internet access, and if their parents do somehow acquire an iPhone, usually they're not allowed to use it or other reasons. So we do offer after school, so some kids have access through that, but for the most part, this is how we do homework. Any questions? Okay, don't forget the concrete. This is a big thing. Last year when I did this, I thought, well, there's no way I can pull in all these manipulatives because they're going to be getting them out at all different times. So, and it didn't work well for me that way. So what I do is I pull them, when I pull them small group, or when I do my 10-minute lesson in the morning as whole group, they get the manipulatives then. So anything they do in fractions, or using the base 10 blocks, or using Cuisenaire rods, any of those stuff that they use, I usually implement that during small group or whole group in the morning. It is very important though to go concrete, semi-concrete, and then move on. Formative assessment tasks, I put the link down here for you. These are North Carolina. They're very high level. The deconstructed standards in this match up perfectly, more so than any of the other tasks. They're more like the tasks that you see on K-Prep testing. They require lots of higher level thinking. They're usually multi-step.